afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. The latest from the NSWMA on Riverton Dam fire. More calls for political parties to listen to the people in candidate selection exercises. And later in sports, Cassava standing by their decision not to play in GFF Tier 2 competition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here are the details. The National Solid Waste Management Authority says it is contending with a smoke nuisance from yesterday's fire at the Riverton City Disposal site in St. Andrew. The fire started about 10 a.m. and has left sections of St. Catherine and St. Andrew blanketed in smoke. We're now joined by Executive Director of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, Audley Gordon. Mr. Gordon, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Mr. Gordon, can you hear me?
Yes, thanks for having me.
Thank you for facilitating us. Can you tell us if fire is still blazing at the Riverton landfill?
No, we have no fire blazing at the landfill, and this has been the situation since mid-afternoon yesterday. You know that the fire had started at about 10:30, 10:40 a.m. yesterday morning, and once the protocols kick in, we were able to quickly cut off the fire, put out the blaze, but we're still contending with the smoke from that incident. Everyone would know that when you out a fire, the smoke is the last thing to go, and for us at the disposal site, it can be very frustrating to fight these smoke nuisance, and sometimes it can go longer than you originally planned. So we have set a new time frame. We believe that by the end of today, we should be significantly underway, or at least near completion. Right now, we have covered 40% of the area, and so, 60%, sorry. 40% was this morning. My mid-morning report was 60%. And we are intending to cover the remaining 40% during daylight today. So we are pushing as hard as we can. We have 2 pieces of equipment concentrating on the fire, and we have about 10 trucks that is moving and recover material. So things are moving apace. It might not be as fast as we would like because we don't want to have smoke nuisance.
What are some challenges the firefighters are experiencing controlling the situation?
All right, so the smoke nuisance is what, again, we are battling. And so it's not the Jamaica Fire Brigade that's actually doing the work. It's actually our heavy-duty equipment operators and our landfill staff. And the wind is the main challenge that we have. As when the wind turns the smoke in your face, it's very difficult to work at that time. We're fortunate that since morning the smoke is turned in the direction towards the hills, and so we are pushing hard to cover as much as we can before the wind changes direction. But we are moving at a good pace.
Okay, and, talk to us about the resources that you have. Do you have enough?
Sure. We are comfortable with the amount of topsoil that we have on site, and we have, in terms of the equipment on the trucks, we are more than capable to bring a resolution and in the earliest time. And we are looking at by end of day, we should have the smoke significantly reduced, if not totally.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
Appreciate it.
And of course, TVJ News will continue to track that story. To other news now, on the heels of the controversial decisions in the People's National Party in choosing representatives for 2 constituencies, one social commentator is suggesting that political parties listen to the people. It's believed that the autocratic approach political parties use in these cases may be causing more harm than good. The details in this report. In recent times, People's National Party delegates in the St. Anne Southeast constituency demonstrated against a selection exercise, forcing the party to call for a runoff among the 3 candidates. Also, medical practitioner Dr. Alfred Dawes said he received death threats since being selected as the party's candidate in the Southeast St. Catherine constituency in the next general elections. Social commentator Sondre Roden, who was speaking Thursday on TVJ's Smile Jamaica, weighs in on the issue.
Now, in this specific case that has gotten public attention because there's public outcry, you question then, is it a case where he could have gone nowhere else? Is it a case where there are no other seats available? Because based on what was happening, it seems as though this councillor guy had already set his sights, had his thing running. I heard that flyers were all about the place from a long time. So is there a way then for you to balance it?
Mr. Roden says, despite Jamaica being a democratic country, there are times when autocratic approaches are used, especially when it comes to politics.
But what's interesting about Jamaican politics, I've had my reads because I wasn't alive long enough, but I've read about the events of the past, and what you realize is that somewhere along the line, some individuals believe that democracy might not give you what you need, might give you what you want. So I might have to take an autocratic step when it comes on to the internal politics and selecting who I want to select.
He says oftentimes parties forego the concept of the people's views and look at the bigger picture, which is the party. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the people and not the party.
No, there's a bigger picture that a particular party wants power. So they're selecting their best 11. As a football coach, you get what I'm saying? You're selecting your best 11. You want your winger, you want your midfielder, and you say, this man can hold the middle away, somebody else can hold it. But then you question, if you are selecting your best 11, do you do it in disenfranchisement of the people who think that somebody else would be a better candidate for them? So are you selecting your government, or are you selecting the member of parliament for the people?
Member of Parliament for West Portland, Darrell Vaz, is calling on the National Works Agency, NWA, to implement other strategies to contain the dust nuisance in the constituency and the neighboring East Portland. The dust is caused by roadwork on the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project. Mr. Vaz gave the update at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing. While commending the quality of work being carried out, he argued that the maintenance of temporary roads require further intervention.
I have made representation to the National Works Agency, and they have agreed that despite the fact that the road is not ready for paving, we will oil the roads immediately. So it means that we'll have to oil them twice. Oil them now to suppress the dust, and oil them again when you're preparing for final paving. That, to me, will reduce the dust nuisance in the drought, and of course with the summer heat that we are going to face.
Mr. Vaz called for increased supervision of the main contractor and subcontractors by the NWA.
For the level of money that is being spent, I openly say that the supervision of these roadworks are unacceptable. Unacceptable not because of the quality of work, unacceptable because of the maintenance of the temporary roads and the dust nuisance.
The Jamaica Agricultural Society, JAS, says it will not be able to stand on its own come the end of May. President of the society, Lenworth Fulton, says there are a number of issues that need to be rectified before the agricultural body can become autonomous. He says they currently do not have the staff nor the financial backing to stand on their own. It's why he's hoping that a $100 million grant could be offered to the JAS over a 3-year period.
We would detail what we are going to use that $100 million for, and then government would approve it in tranches for us to keep our business going until we get our business activities up. Because the present structure of the JS is very difficult
to do business. So we need a new structure. It has changed over the year to be a sort of organization which delivers some critical service, but not business oriented, and that's what we want to change.
Residents of one St. Mary community is alerting the authorities to a broken fire hydrant which is causing flooding in their yard. Residents of Spring Valley have described as sinful the amount of water being wasted, even as the country experiences one of the worst droughts with tough water restrictions.
The amount of water that I've seen running and wasting could fill Mona Dam and Constant Spring Dam many times. I mean, many times over. And this morning I heard the Prime Minister talking about the drought situation that we're having. And it is sinful to have water running to waste like this. There are times when we don't have water up here for days. Because if it rains, or even if rain set up, then they turn off the water from the here we are getting. So it is really a shame to see water running like this when we are short on water, and guess what? We have to pay for this water that's going to waste.
Glenford Hudson says he's written to the Jamaica Fire Department in St. Mary about the issue. However, they redirected him to the Kingston headquarters. That was months ago. Residents have placed heavy objects to reduce the amount of water being wasted. But according to them, the pressure is too much. Now they fear that the water is affecting the integrity of their properties.
Is waterlogged. The neighbor's yard, the water just running through it like a small stream, and it's damaging all of the plants that we have in place. Plus, my wall behind me is undermined. So very shortly the wall might just fall over.
News reached out to spokesman at the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Amelia Ebanks, about the issue. However, he said he was unaware of the emails. He said he will check into the matter. It's now time for the Business Minute.
The Statistical Institute of Jamaica says the sum earned from locally manufactured items sent overseas was valued at $961.3 million for the calendar year 2022. For 2021, $722.1 million was earned. The group of the manufactured products raked in $615 million, reflecting a 58% improvement relative to 2021. Statin says this was due mainly to higher exports of refined petroleum products, which grew by 59%. Almost $550 million was earned from selling these goods on the international market. Meanwhile, revenues from the exports of food, beverages and tobacco increased to $346 million, almost 4% more than the $334 million earned in 2021. More money earned for the export of alcoholic beverages, excluding rum, along with the actual rum exports. Other food and baked products also pushed up earnings. Further afield, the Bank of England raised its key interest rate by 0.25 percentage point to 4.5% on Thursday, taking borrowing costs to their highest since 2008, with its 12th consecutive rate rise as it seeks to curb the fastest inflation of any major economy. The central bank no longer predicts a recession after it revised its growth forecasts up from gloomy numbers released in February. But it also now expects inflation to be slower to fall than it had hoped, mostly due to unexpectedly big and persistent rises in food prices. And that's the Business Minute. I'm Hal Shane Burke.
The Business Minute.
And now for the top regional and international stories. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, TTPS, has refuted claims circulating on social media regarding an impending state of emergency, saying it is intended to cause panic throughout the population. Police Commissioner Erla Harewood Christopher says she's aware of the existence of the voice note message being circulated on social media. She described the contents as false news and that the TTPS is unaware of any such information and denounces the attempt to cause undue anxiety and panic among the population with the circulation of the false information. On the international scene, Israeli airstrikes killed the commander of Islamic Jihad's rocket unit in Gaza Thursday. This is amid stalled attempts to agree to a ceasefire after days of violence between the two sides that has left at least 25 Palestinians dead. More than 520 rockets were fired from Gaza toward Israel as Palestinian militants retaliated against ongoing heavy airstrikes from the Israeli military. 4 leaders of the Palestinian militant organization have so far died in the bombardments. News further afield, as Title 42 is set to expire at 11:59 Thursday night, security officials are bracing for what could be an unprecedented influx of migrants seeking asylum along the southern U.S. border. The COVID-era public health emergency measure allowed for the quick expulsion of migrants at the border and nearly halted the processing of asylum applications for more than 3 years. Once Title 42 is lifted, the tens of thousands of people who have been waiting in Mexico after fleeing from violence, poverty, and political instability will be subject to decades-old immigration protocols known as Title 8. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Shimel. We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report with Karen Madden.